What an amazing victory by the Cleveland Browns, depleted by so many injuries. So many of them. But it did not matter for Case Keenum and Dearness Johnson, the star of the show for the Cleveland Browns, getting an amazing victory. The score may not show it, but it was very dominated by the Cleveland Browns against the Denver Broncos. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode of Time2Football. My name is Hassan Khan, the host of the show that we like to call Time2Football. Glad you guys are joining us for this wonderful Friday, post-Thursday night football. You guys are joining us in the chat, whether you guys are waking up on the West Coast and joining us on this wonderful Friday, or you're already at work getting things done and on the East Coast or in Central Time. It's 9 o'clock, 9:17 right now in Central Time. You know, do people go into work nowadays at 8 a.m. and they work 8 to 5 because lunch counts or does not count? So you have to work an 8-hour day and then you get an hour break? Or is it still 9 to 5? Because that's lame if it's 8 to 5. That's just way more of your life you have to dedicate to your job, which I hate. But, hey, hopefully this 30 minutes that we have on the show can be your escape while you guys are at work. Glad you guys are joining us and continue to chat with us as we proceed in the show and talk about what we're going to be talking about. It's Fantasy Friday. Fantasy Friday, my dudes. Talk about everything fantasy football. PredictionStrike, the stock market of the NFL. We're going to give you 3 players to buy, 3 players to sell, as well as PrizePicks, where you just pick the overs and unders on fantasy football projections. We're going to get into all of that as well. Yeah, the Cleveland Browns looked great last night. They looked amazing. Dearness Johnson, hey, that game proved it does not matter who the running back is. The offensive line is going to look amazing, and it's going to make any running back look amazing. Demetric Felton even had some great runs on top of that as well. So continue to leave your comments. Miguel actually says, "Good morning, America. It's Friday." Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it is. Yo, 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 yo by Ron Real TV. Glad you're joining us. Hey, let's first get into some NFL news and notes that's going around the league thus far as of today. We have to update everybody on Thursday's practice news because we did not have an opportunity. The injury reports come out later on in the afternoon. We have the shows every Monday through Friday morning. So just based off of Thursday alone, what's happening? Antonio Gibson, I'm actually very, very surprised that he was limited in practice. And it's looking like he's trending towards playing against the Green Bay Packers. Now, Friday will be very telling, and more than likely, he's probably going to be limited again. And he's going to have the questionable tag. It's going to be a game-time decision, and then it's going to come down to, are you good to go or you're not good to go? I think he's going to be good to go. I think J.D. McKissic might still get the majority of the work. And given that they have to keep up with the Green Bay Packers, they're going to be involved in the pass game. I don't think Antonio Gibson will be that much of a big factor for the Washington football team, but hey, monitor the news, see how Antonio Gibson is feeling. If it's like, hey, he feels great, it's not that big of an issue, sure. Like, you can start Antonio Gibson in fantasy football. If it's like questionable game time decision, oh man, I don't know. I'd roll with J.D. McKissic, honestly, over Antonio Gibson. But TJ Hawkinson also was limited in Thursday's practice as well after missing Wednesday's practice. But he looks like he's set to go for this Sunday. Latavius Murray, still not practicing. Already confirmed. We can already confirm at this point that he's not going to be playing for the Baltimore Ravens this Sunday. But the fact that he's day-to-day and they're updating us, hey, he hasn't been practicing, it's showing signs that it's not going to be a week-to-week thing. It's a day-to-day. So they play this week. They have a bye week. And then in week 9, they're going to be fine with Latavius Murray getting back that starting running back role. Now, here's the thing. Is Devontae Freeman going to take over? Is Le'Veon Bell? Is it Tyson Williams? I can go ahead and tell you I don't know, and I don't want to mess with that. I really don't. I added Devontae Freeman onto my bench because I have Latavius Murray, and I'm dealing with so many injuries at the running back position. I added Devontae Freeman, and then I was like, nah. They're just going to split time. What's the best he's going to have? 10 carries, 11 carries. You better hope that he falls in the end zone. I don't trust that. I don't. So I would go in a different route. But hey, I mean, if you're desperate and that's all you got, then sure. Jerry Jeudy is expected to play in Week 8, so he had a little bit of a pregame warm-up before the Cleveland Browns game, and he looked great. Now, he wasn't activated off of IR, like he wasn't eligible to play, but they wanted to test it out. He looked great, so it's looking like that next week he's going to be playing again for the Denver Broncos. Rob Gronkowski's still not practicing. Punctured lung, cracked ribs, not practicing. And I think O.J. Howard as well was limited or did not practice. One of those two. So they're kind of depleted at tight end, making Cameron Brate the number one tight end if both of them can't go. Damian Williams. So here's the interesting story about Damian Williams. He was on the reserve COVID-19 list, had to sit out. Khalil Herbert came in, did amazing. Now, against this game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Damian Williams is in danger of missing it again because even though he may not have COVID anymore, he's unvaccinated. And there's just different protocols with returning to the field, especially if you get COVID like kind of late last week like he did before the game, then you can miss 2 games at that point. So the earliest that Damian Williams could be cleared is Saturday. And even if he's cleared, he hasn't been practicing all week. I doubt that he's going to, if he plays, is going to have a significant role. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. I don't know. Monitor that status. But Damian Williams, earliest that he can get activated off that COVID-19 list is Saturday. Allen Robinson is back at practice, suffering through an ankle injury. He should be good to go this weekend against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. T.Y. Hilton still dealing with a quad injury. 4 receptions, 80 yards against the Houston Texans. Then he suffered a quad injury, had to take him out of the game. Now there's unknown or doubt about his status going into this week, Week 7. Tre'Quan Smith, another wide receiver, has been activated off of IR, has a hamstring injury. Or he hasn't been activated off IR yet, but people expect him to be. So he's going to be taken over for the wide receivers in New Orleans, and he's going to be more than likely eligible to play this Monday against the Seattle Seahawks. Evan Ingram, calf injury, did not practice, so that's something that's pretty new, and you should monitor that. Julio Jones was limited at practice with a hamstring injury after not practicing yesterday. He's limited today, so his status a little bit unknown, as well as A.J. Brown, illness, held out of practice. Now, he played through that illness on Monday night against the Buffalo Bills, and he looked great. So I doubt that he's going to be sitting out against the Kansas City Chiefs where they really, really need him. Tyreek Hill misses practice for 2 days straight because of a quad injury. But don't be worried about that. More than likely, he's still going to be playing against the Tennessee Titans. And then lastly, the 2 Giants wide receivers that are injured right now. I feel like that's a sentence that we're saying every single week, but the names just continuously change. You know, it was Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard 1 week. Now it's Kadarius Toney and Kenny Galladay. They're not at practice. We're not at practice on Thursday. So their status, unknown. We already confirmed yesterday that there was a report out there that said that Kenny Galladay or Kadarius Toney might miss this week. More than likely will. So I would bank on that. And that is your NFL news and notes for today. Yo, Hassan. What's up, Jack? How you doing? Yeah, y'all are continuing to leave your comments. And I encourage you guys to do so because we're going to have a segment later on dedicated to fantasy football questions ahead of this this weekend. But first, we talk about this every Friday. The stock market for fantasy football PredictionStrike. You pretty much just buy shares of players like it's a stock market, and that's it. And if they exceed their fantasy projection, you win some cash. And if they don't meet their fantasy projection, their stock price plummets a little bit. But I'm here to help you and give you advice on which players you should invest in and which players you should think about selling. So I'm going to give you 3 players to buy and 3 players to sell. Starting off with players to buy. Now, if you want to make a quick buck this weekend, hey, why not take someone that's been extremely disappointing? His price is continuing to plummet. But think about buying Robbie Anderson. All right, okay. Anderson has not been looking great. We know this. But look at the analysis. 29 targets the last 3 games. 11 targets in one game, 7 targets in the next, 11 targets in the other. Terrace Marshall Jr. is dealing with a concussion. still feeling the effects. And by the sounds of it, it doesn't sound great. So he's more than likely going to miss this game. And also, Brandon Zylstra has been placed on injured reserve. So the only two healthy wide receivers that they have are Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore, who are going to be dominating the targets against the New York Giants. Even Christian McCaffrey himself, pass-catching running back, is going to be expected to miss this game. So, I like Robbie Anderson. If there's any time to break out, it's going to be this week. I actually picked him up in fantasy football, and I'm starting him in my flex spot in a 12-team league. Robbie Anderson, guy you want to invest in if you want to make a quick buck this weekend. Player to buy number 2. We talked about this last week, but I just want to reiterate that Miles Sanders is a player that you need to invest in. 84 cents a share, so he's extremely cheap. Hey, I just bought 10 shares of him. 10 shares of him when he was at 80 cents. 80 cents, 79 cents, something like that. So he's continuously going up in price. I think people are trying to catch on that, okay, the Eagles are going to run with Miles Sanders a lot more. Look at the analysis. Would be surprising if the Eagles continued to not feed Sanders. The fans are frustrated with the lack of rushes. The play calling by Nick Sirianni and the whole offensive coordinator and the whole coaching staff is frustrating. It is costing them games. Everybody can put the blame on Jalen Hurts if they want. Everybody can put the blame on Miles Sanders is not like. No, it's the play calling. They have the talent there. And so the play calling needs to change. And I think the Eagles are aware of that, and they need to run with the ball a lot more. And that's why I feel like Miles Sanders is a player that you want to invest in, because moving forward for the rest of the season, Sanders is expected to get an uptick in touches. Now, the last player that I would buy, and this is solely based off of rumors, but I'm going to go ahead and invest in it because it won't hurt. Won't hurt. What about Will Fuller? He's on injured reserve right now with a broken finger, but hey, he should be activated in the next week or two. $4.88 a share is a little pricey, but he's going down in price. He's going down. Now, he was a sell for me. I want to say 3 weeks back. I was like, okay, Will Fuller, injured. This Dolphins offense does not look great. But the analysis, everything's changed when you read the analysis. Deshaun Watson could be dealt to Miami. Will reunite with his former teammate. He's worth buying some shares. It's worth it. Why not? Why not? Hey, they had a great chemistry in Houston. As latest as the last season in Houston before he was suspended. Had a great year. Great season. So Will Fuller is a guy that I like, and it could be the number one target for Deshaun Watson in Miami. Now, players that you want to sell on, because I'm just not too high on them, whether it be this week or for the rest of the season. Player number 1, Chris Carson. Unfortunately, talented player. $3.55 a share. But the analysis says that the injury may keep him out longer. So you don't know when he's going to be coming back. And in that process, people are going to be panicking, and they're going to sell his share. Be like, oh, he's not going to be playing. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of him, which is going to decrease his price, and you're going to lose some money. When he returns, likely, Hassan, can you do correct English? Likely, spell it. Likely to split time with Alex Collins and Rashad Penny when he were to return. Because Alex Collins has been looking great. Rashad Penny is going to be activated off of IR pretty soon. So Chris Carson, more than likely, he's a sell candidate. Probably won't make that big of an impact. Player to sell number 2, and I'm just doing this based off of his great performance last night, Dearness Johnson. If you invested in him this past week because you're like, man, this guy's going to go off, hey, you made some serious cash. He went up 30% in price. And I know that's only 49 cents a share, but hey, if you bought like freaking 50 shares of Dearness Johnson, you made some serious cash. You really did. He had an incredible game. So that's why I'm saying to sell high. Because Nick Chubb is set to return soon. They have a long break before week 8. Sell to make quick cash. Hold if you believe he'll be the starter in the future. I personally would sell him because I think he's more of a product of the... Now, he's a great player. Don't get me wrong. Great player. The way that he was shifting and moving and made something out of nothing, like, that's incredible. But the level of production that he had, like, instead of just having a good game, he had a great game. I think a lot of that is credited to one, Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb being injured, yes, but also the offensive line just being really, really good. So if he were to be a starter somewhere else with another team, maybe he won't be as productive as he was in Cleveland. So it could happen. So, I mean, I personally am taking advantage of the sell high aspect of it just because Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, rest of the way I'm going to be riding with them. But, to each their own. If you believe that in the future, like 2 years, 3 years down the road, he's going to be a great starter in the NFL, sure. Last player, I kind of touched based on this last week, and his price went up. And so that's why I'm saying, yes, please, now is the time. Think about it. Derrick Henry. Now is the time to sell on Derrick Henry. He just continuously exceeds his fantasy football projection, and that increases his stock price. He was $33 last week. Now he's $39, up 19%. But look at the analysis. Playing at an unbelievable level, sell some shares, but not all of them. Derrick Henry is one of the safest investments that you can make. One of the safest. So that's why I'm saying you should not sell all of them, because it could continue to exceed his fantasy football projections. His price could continue to go up because he's playing at such an unbelievable king-like level right now. But $39 a share, if you own like 10 shares of Derrick Henry and you want to sell like 5 of them just to make some of your money back that you invested in, I'm okay with that. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, make your money back that you invested in, and then everything else, all the other shares that you have, it's just cherries on top. It's just profit that, hey, no matter if he drops in price, increases in price, just extra money. So those are 3 players to buy and 3 players to sell via the stock market of fantasy football PredictionStrike. Use the promo code T2F. Click that link in the description. Sign up. Start playing. And, hey, you get a free share of a player as well as I do if you use the promo code T2F. So it's well worth it. Free money, free shares. I do it. Now we're going to be talking about PrizePicks. Ladies and gentlemen, PrizePicks is one of the most fun fantasy games that I've ever discovered. Ever. I'm not even joking. All it is you pick the overs and unders on fantasy football projections. And if you're right, you win some money. If you're wrong, you lose some money. We've won some money on the show. We've also lost some money on the show, but we've won way more money than we have lost. I'll go ahead and show you, and I'll show you later on in this video, but I invested initially $250, and now I'm up to $570 just from PrizePicks. So I made a profit of $320. So I'm going to give you some advice for this week, week 7, of which players you should take the over on and which players you should take the under on via PrizePicks and their projections. So we're going to talk about 3 players each. The first player that you want to take the unders on, we're going to talk about 3 players to take the unders on. It's got to be Mac Jones. Mac Jones is projected 17 fantasy points this week against the New York Jets. Now, I would say normally against the Jets, yeah, okay, that's reasonable. But Mac Jones, personally, I mean, he hasn't had a game this year, all season long, where he scored over 17 fantasy points. And against the New York Jets in week 2, guess what? He only scored, he didn't even score anything close to 17 fantasy points. So who's to think that he's going to score over 17 fantasy points this week? I'm 80% confident. Because we always talk about Mac Jones and how he's a good player. He's accurate. But his fantasy points per pass attempt is what's killing him in fantasy football. So, Mac Jones, player number 1 that I would take the under on. Player number 2 that I would take the under on via PrizePicks and their projections, Patrick Mahomes. I know what you're thinking, Tennessee Titans. It's a good matchup for Patrick Mahomes. Yes, it is. But the strategy that I like to take in winning some money on PrizePicks is if they're projected a ridiculous amount of fantasy points, I'm going to go ahead and take the under on that. And I want some money because, like, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, like, some weeks they've been projected 23, 24, 25 fantasy points. And, hey, they might do great. They might have, like, 18, 19 fantasy points. But it's so hard to reach such an astronomical amount of fantasy points and astronomical amount of numbers. So Patrick Mahomes, 27 fantasy points. I'm 70% confident that he gets less than that. The last player that you want to take the under on, I'm going to talk about another quarterback, Kyler Murray, 23 fantasy points. And you could go ahead and say, well, maybe this is the same reasoning behind Patrick Mahomes a little bit. He has a capability of exceeding 23 fantasy points way more than Patrick Mahomes does of exceeding 27 just because of his rushing ability. But the reason I'm 80% confident that Kyler Murray is not going to get 23 fantasy points is because the games against Jacksonville, Cleveland, and LA, those games that the Arizona Cardinals had, they were out of hand. And this game against the Houston Texans, more than likely, it's going to be out of hand early. And those 3 games that I just mentioned, Kyler Murray did not even reach 23 fantasy points in either of those games. So in games that are out of hand, Kyler Murray has only exceeded 23 fantasy points in one of them, and that was against the Tennessee Titans in Week 1. Besides that, nah. So I mean, that 75% of your games that are out of hand, that you're leading, you have a big lead, Kyler Murray not getting over 23 fantasy points. Look at the numbers. That's why I would take the under on Kyler Murray. Now, let's talk about players that you want to take the overs on. We talk about Ryan Tannehill on this show a lot because it's just so easy to predict his overs and unders. Now, we usually knock on him and take the unders. Like last week, I think, against the Buffalo Bills, we took the unders and we hit on that. But this week, I'm taking the over on 249 passing yards for Ryan Tannehill. The reason being is because 4 out of 6 quarterbacks that have faced the Kansas City Chiefs have thrown for more than 249 yards. And the 2 quarterbacks that did not, one was Lamar Jackson on a rush-heavy team. He still put up 239 yards, so he was still close. And then the other was Taylor Heineke last week, which, I mean, that was, you're going to have those games like that. But the stats are in the favor of Ryan Tannehill throwing for over 249 yards, and I am 75% confident that that were to happen. Now, the player number 2 that you need to take the over on, another quarterback, Jared Goff, 14 fantasy points. Now, he's a sit for us. He's a sit. But keep in mind that Jared Goff is playing the LA Rams. You think that he's not going to be motivated? He has a bigger chip on his shoulder than Matthew Stafford does against the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff has, like if you watch the interviews or anything like that, he takes a lot of digs towards the LA Rams. And he's unhappy with the relationship and how it ended. So I expect him to throw for more than 14 fantasy points or put up more than 14 fantasy points. I still think that he's a sit in fantasy football, so he may only get like 15, 16, at best maybe 17. But over 14, I'm 70% confident that that were to happen for Jared Goff. Now, the last player that you want to take the over on, Robbie Anderson. We talked about this when we talked about PredictionStrike. 11 fantasy points. This is a PPR, by the way. This is PPR. I'm 70% confident that he's going to have a breakout game, and it's just because of the 29 targets that he had the last 3 weeks. There's injuries to Terrace Marshall, Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Zylstra. It's going to be DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson that are going to heavily dominate the target share for the Carolina Panthers. So I would take the overs on Robbie Anderson. Now, last little bit of thing that we have to do, we have to show you guys that we're legit and we're not just talking about this and blowing smoke. Like we actually go on PrizePicks.com and we make the picks live on air. So let me switch over to my computer and put myself in the corner right here, and you guys can follow along. Okay, so we had Ryan Tannehill throwing for over 249 yards. We'll go ahead and pick him. Now, we can only pick 5 players and one little bet. Otherwise, I'd pick all 6. But let's go here to fantasy score. Let's go to, I said Mac Jones, right? Let's pick him. Where he faces the Patriots. Okay, under 17. So it's going to pop up on the side right here. So over 249, under 17. What else do we've got? We've got Robbie Anderson, Jared Goff, Kyler Murray, and Patrick Mahomes. Okay, so we can only choose 3 of those 4. I am big on Robbie Anderson having a big game. So I'm going to scroll down here to 11 fantasy points. Robbie Anderson goes over that. Again, it's PPR too. So it makes it a little bit easier to reach 11 fantasy points. Now we've got Jared Goff, Kyler Murray, and Patrick Mahomes. And out of those, who do I want to pick? Okay, so Jared Goff and Patrick Mahomes, I'm 70% confident. So Kyler Murray, I'm 80% confident. It's a pretty tough one, but they're both fantasy scores. So I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes under 17. And then I could choose Kyler Murray because I'm a little bit more confident. Something's telling me to choose Jared Goff. You know what? I'll choose Kyler Murray. I will choose Kyler Murray wherever he is. So he's playing on the West Coast, right? If I'm not mistaken. Maybe Central Time against Houston Texans. Okay. Kyler Murray right here. And I will take the under on that. Now, I always put in $10 for a chance to win 100. Why not? Hey, and we also have an extra 10 cents right here. So let's do 10 cents so that we can make it $101. Why not? Place that entry. So we got, just to make sure, Kyler Murray under 23, Patrick Mahomes under 27, Robbie Anderson over, Jones under, right? Okay, got that correct. Just want to make sure. Place entry. Boom. Just like that. So PrizePicks.com. Download the app as well. Click the link in the description. They match your deposit of up to $100 if you use the promo code T2F. Well worth it. All right, now we're going to get into fan questions, viewer questions, as you guys are leaving in the comments down below. Throughout the duration of the show, you guys ask your questions, and I'm going to get to you guys. All right, what do we got here? Aftershock value. Grand Rising, my guy. Oh, that's a good way to put that good morning phrase right there. I need some prediction strike advice, and I need to know, do I pick up T. Higgins and drop Darnell Mooney? Okay, so we got your prediction strike advice. Go back and watch, and you can see which players to buy and sell via the stock market of fantasy football. Now, for fantasy football itself, T. Higgins or Darnell Mooney, you know, I would pick up T. Higgins. I like T. Higgins for the rest of the season. I think they're kind of sort of in the same tier, but I favor T. Higgins a little bit more just because I mean, that's such a pass-heavy offense. So I'd rather have T. Higgins. Half PPR, McKissick, Herbert, and A.J. Dillon are all on the waiver. And McKissick's on the waiver. It was one. Herbert's on the waiver? Wait, dude, are you in a 4-team league? Hold up. I was wondering if I should drop Moss for any of them in case Collins doesn't play on Monday. It would be a flex spot. Oh, Khalil Herbert, not Justin Herbert. That makes sense. Yes, because you don't want to wait till Monday, then be in a bad spot, and Alex Collins doesn't play. Out of them, Khalil Herbert, because I don't think Damian Williams is going to be playing, whereas Antonio Gibson might be, and J.D. McKissick has to split some time with him. So even though McKissick, I think, is going to get the majority of the snaps, I would go with Herbert. Yeah, I would go with Herbert over Collins. What else have we got? Christian. Miami should pick up Johnson. You talk about Dearness Johnson? Hey, I mean, yeah. I don't think the issue is really the running backs per se. I mean, I think Dearness Johnson might be better than Myles Gaskin, but I don't think, I think they could still win with Myles Gaskin. It's just play calling and, oh man, let's try to create a role for these 3 running backs, and offensive line is just not good. Maybe when Deshaun Watson gets there, it can open things up and they can run the ball more effectively, but hey. Sellout. Should I pick up Brandon Ayuk if he's a free agent? He was a must-drop for me this week because I don't think, like we've seen enough of Brandon Ayuk, I think, through the first 6 weeks of the season. First 5 weeks, I mean, they had a bye week last week. But, I mean, sure, I wouldn't drop anyone major for him. But, sure, if you want to stash him, I mean, won't hurt. Miguel, I just traded Antonio Gibson and T. Higgins for Cordero Patterson and Mike Evans. Was this a good trade? Yeah, I mean, it's even. I'd say it's even right now. I have hope for Antonio Gibson in the future, dude. He just needs to heal up. And I think since this injury for Antonio Gibson came out, it makes a little bit more sense on why they weren't feeding him the ball a lot more. It's because he's been hurt. And Jaden McKissick is a really good player, so they're fine. I personally would have kept Antonio Gibson and T. Higgins, but I mean, hey, to each their own. Like, I don't think it's a bad trade. I really don't. I think you're fine. Like, you're in a good spot. Ron Real TV, I'm hoping AB plays, dealing with an ankle sprain. I need him this week. Yeah, he is dealing with an ankle sprain. I think he did not practice this past week. So that is something to monitor. Alexandre, I don't know. Would you trade Devontae Smith for Julio and PPR? Yeah, I'd rather have Julio. Khalil Herbert or Antonio Gibson for the flex PPR. Did this by Daniel Orton. I mean, we still don't know the status of Antonio Gibson. If there's anything that comes out that says that he's a game time decision and he's just been limited in practice, or maybe hopefully a report comes out like Antonio Gibson is not going to get the majority of the carries, then yeah, go with Khalil Herbert. I mean, in any scenario, I would lean on Khalil Herbert because more than likely Antonio Gibson's going to be limited. Khalil Herbert is going to be the starter with Damian Williams going to be missing, even though if he's activated by Saturday. Christian, Flex, Dylan, Bateman, Hines, Rashad, Stevenson. Is that a question? Ooh. I mean, are you talking about Rashad Penny? That's a tough. Like, are you in a 14-team league? Because I don't know. That's tough. That's tough to flex either one of them. I guess Rashad Bateman. I guess. But hey, I'm not confident on either one of them. Enlo, good morning. You had Elijah Mitchell as a must sit. Yep. I need to flex one half PPR. Gibby, if he plays, or Mitchell. I mean, between the two, man, it sucks with Antonio Gibson. I would play him. I really would. As an Antonio Gibson owner myself, I have Jaden McKissick on the bench. I picked him up as my handcuff prior to the season starting. But, man, golly, dude. It's tough. It's tough because I don't want to get burned by Antonio Gibson. So, you know what? Even though the matchup is bad for Elijah Mitchell, I'd rather start him over Antonio Gibson this week. And this is just me being, saying this early on Friday. We still have to hear about Friday, Saturday, Sunday morning. What's the status of Antonio Gibson? So monitor that. But for now, I'm saying Mitchell over Gibson. Do I trade Antonio Gibson and Keenan Allen for Khalil Herbert and Amari Cooper? This is by Quentin. I'm 2-4 and 11th place in a 14-team league. All right, so we got to turn some things around. Gibson and Keenan Allen for Khalil Herbert and Amari Cooper. No, dude, don't do it. Amari Cooper is in an offense where there's a lot of massive feet. So is Keenan Allen. So they're both in the same boat. So if you think that they're kind of equal with Amari Cooper having a little bit of an edge in production this year, Keenan Allen is going to continue to get those targets, consistent targets. So don't worry about Keenan Allen. It's at that point, it comes down to Antonio Gibson versus Khalil Herbert. I am thinking long-term, dude. I know you're 2-4. Gut it out. You can get through it because Khalil Herbert is only going to be fantasy relevant for maybe just one more week this week. And then after that, you're going to regret it. So don't do it. Think long-term. Even if you drop to 2-5, it's okay. It's an extended season. There's 14 games in the regular season now for most leagues. It's okay. So you could still go 9-5, 8-6, whatever it may be. Maybe even 7-7 and make the playoffs. In a 14-team league, could happen. So don't worry about it. I'd hold on to them. Golly. Miguel, you said also Julio Jones is out. Who should I pick up from the waiver wire? Okay, and then you mentioned a lot of wide receivers. I mean, just browsing through it, if Julio Jones is out, I mean, it's tough. It's slim pickings on the waivers, but I would go with Rondale Moore. Rondale Moore would be my choice. Should I trade Patterson for Sanders? Full PPR. This is by Jack. See, this is why I'm not big on like running back for running back trades, because it's like, why are you trading me another running back? What do you know that I don't know? Do you think that Sanders is going to be that much better than Patterson? If that's the case, then I'm going to hold on to Miles Sanders. You know what I'm saying? But personally, if I had to choose between Patterson or Sanders for the season, it'd be Miles Sanders. It'd be Miles Sanders, yeah. But try to get something out of it, dude, because Miles Sanders has not been looking great. So, and Patterson has. So trade Patterson for Sanders and someone else. Maybe it's like a lower tier running back. Maybe it's like the other person has a handcuff for a running back that you have. Maybe he has Kenneth Gainwell, and say, hey, I will trade you Patterson for Miles Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell so that you're in a good spot if Miles Sanders were to get hurt. That's what I would do. Nasli, is Sterling Shepard a good play this week? Yes, Sterling Shepard is a good play every week. Okay, it does not matter what the matchup is. I'm going to go ahead and say this on the show. Sterling Shepard is going to get the targets. Does not matter what the matchup is. We've seen this in previous years. In like the last couple of years, I remember Deebo Samuel. I was in one spot last year where he was facing the LA Rams, and I was like, oh man, like the 49ers are dealing with so many injuries, and Deebo Samuel is like the only wide receiver left to play for San Francisco. But like Jalen Ramsey could be shadowing Deebo Samuel, and then eventually I did play Deebo Samuel because I was like, who are they going to throw to? It's just going to be Deebo Samuel, right? And I was correct. And the same thing is applying to the New York Giants. Like Sterling Shepard is going to continue to get like 9-10 targets a game as long as those wide receivers are out. So I would go with Sterling Shepard this week. Yeah, absolutely. How long will Chubb and Hunt be out? I have Chubb on my team, benched for now due to injury. This is by Jeff Fields McCormick. Hey, you tune in every week, so I appreciate that, or every day. I think Chubb is coming back next week, if I'm not mistaken. At worst, maybe week 9. Hunt, now that's a different story. He might not be back for like the next few weeks by like the fantasy football playoffs. So it does kind of suck for Kareem Hunt. But Nick Chubb is the way to go. Coming back week 9. So just gut it out. Week 9 at worst. Week 8 is a possibility. Any update on Dak's calf strain? Do we know anything about the severity? Jeff asked that as well. I don't think it's severe. That's from what I hear right after the game. Was it Mike Florio of NBC Pro Football Talk? He said, yeah, right after the game. As soon as he had that calf strain of that overtime pass, Dak said, it is fine. It's okay. Don't worry about it. He's going to be playing. This bye week is very helpful for them to rest up. I am going way over time, and I did not realize it. Okay, let me just go through and answer a few more before I gotta sign off here. Rolando, start sit, Rashad Bateman or Corey Davis. I'd still start Corey Davis, in PPR especially. Would you start Bateman over, this is by Gabriel, Bateman over one of these guys, Mooney, Waddle, or Smith? And could start Jared Patterson, also break out like Johnson yesterday if Gibson is out. What do you think? No, I don't think Patterson is the way to go. Now, he looked great in the preseason, but that was against second string and third string players. And it's J.D. McKissick. Because if it was Gibson that was out, why was J.D. McKissick getting all the touches, all the carries, all the receptions when they were monitoring his status last week against the Green Bay Packers? And if Patterson needed to make an impact, then he would have worked in with J.D. McKissick and Antonio Gibson somewhat throughout the season. He didn't. So that's why punt on Jared Patterson. Don't worry about that. But to answer your question, man, between Bateman, Mooney, Waddle, Smith, Waddle would be the way to go. That's what I would do. Oh, golly, dude. I've had a cough for like a month. It's not COVID, dude. We already proved that. We already proved this on this episode, or at least last month on an episode of Time2Football. I don't know what it is, dude. Am I dying? I might be dying. I don't know. That's okay. Hey, it's been a great ride if I am dying. Make sure you guys subscribe to this channel, show your support in case I do die. I know it's tough out there for everyone that is dealing with COVID, so I hope you guys feel better. But hey, for you guys that aren't, enjoy it. Enjoy it. enjoy your Sunday. We got a fantasy football Q&A this Sunday. With all that said, take care. I'll see you Sunday.